Hey everybody, welcome to the Games Tavern Happy Hour. I'm Mac, and this week I'm joined by Corey.
Hey, folks.
And today we got some news, and then later we're going to be talking about the show that Corey was running the past couple of weeks in the Velkin Weave slot for what was it, the Barber of Silver Moon, right?
Barber Silverman. That was a fun little two shot we did.
Yeah, I thought that was a lot of fun, but we'll get to that in the second half there. So first up, I want to say if you have not already joined up with our Discord, feel free to hit up this link that I just threw into the chat there. We have a lot of fun. We have a lot of conversations about all sorts of really weird stuff. Often RPG stuff, often gaming, but sometimes it's just the weather, and but in an exciting way.
And other randomness.
Yeah, it's probably where I've been spending far too much of my time on. It's a good time. But for the news, probably the biggest single piece of news that's happened this week, we're just going to go ahead and get that out there, is the D&D official Wizards of the Coast Dungeons and Dragons survey is up right now. It's basically the Dungeons and Dragons census is probably the easiest way to think about that.
Right, the twice annual one. Yeah.
Oh, it's twice annual. Okay, I thought it was just once annual.
Well, actually, I have no idea how often I feel like it wasn't that long ago that I filled out another one of the D&D surveys. So it feels like it may just be once a year, but
Yeah, I know. I
more
don't know.
the last couple of years, it feels like they've been putting these out a little more often.
Well,
So
either ways, the company's trying to get a pulse on the community, which I think is a great thing. You're not going to get any good content if they don't know who's playing and what they want.
very true. There's sections for players and DMs. They want to know how often you're playing, what you're using. There were a lot of questions there that again uh, feed the suspicion that they're working on their own VTT. They've been creating all these tools,
Yeah,
and there were a lot of questions asking, what do you use as a player besides D&D Beyond? What are other tools you use? Like, what do you use as a DM? All sorts of stuff.
yeah. One of the questions that got me a little bit was the how much have you like the past year? How much have you spent on Dungeons and Dragons official books? And
I
I had to
I,
admit,
th- I think I ended up leaving those blank. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I think I could probably.
oh, we lost you for a second there. You're frozen.
Nope.
All right, there you go. You're back. Sorry.
All right. The virtual one was my big one. Like, how much have you spent on Dungeons and Dragons on, virtual books and stuff? I'm like, oh man, I don't know. I
Yeah.
really don't.
Yeah, that was. I was able to get a pretty good estimate on that one, but then I just had to look back at the thing. I'm like, oh, here's a number that I think is appropriate, and please. It was more than I really expected to once I actually started measuring it. But I've done it over the past like 8 months, so it's tolerable, right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
It's what does it spark joy?
yeah, sure, we'll go with that. But it does have a lot of really good questions in there, and regardless if you're not a player or you're only a player or you're only a DM, there's information there for you. One of the question sets that I actually thought was pretty cool was what editions have you played, and when was the last time you played these editions? It's like, okay, yeah, I had to go through and I was like, I think I have played everything, maybe not two in years, but I've played everything and I've got books from most of them. So it's like, yeah, that's I thought that was a cool thing for all the
Impressive.
grognards out there.
And me is since I've only played fifth edition. I mean, I've heard of and familiar with some of the older editions, but I didn't start playing till just 3 or 4 years ago. So fifth edition's been everything I've learned to date.
Yeah, and I'm kind of hoping that they're going to publish some of that information just to see how big has the community gotten for people who haven't been playing since the 80s or the 90s or the early 2000s.
I mean, if social media is any way to measure, it's blown up a lot recently.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, we know that anecdotally at the very least, and it's pretty confident in that knowledge.
Yeah, I just want the data on it. Like I know we've talked about it a couple times, but fifth edition is just such an easy game it's such a great gateway game into the hobby, and that paired with the
Yeah.
coolness, like Lord of the Rings happened, and that sort of made fantasy mainstream and cool, and then Game of Thrones and The Witcher and everything, Mythica, all of that stuff came out and made it actually a pretty cool time to be doing this nerdy hobby.
And don't forget Stranger Things.
Right. Yeah, that's been like almost 4 years, 5 years at this point. So
Yeah, I think my first game of 5e was the fall after Stranger Things came out. The first season of Stranger Things.
wow, yeah,
That
yeah.
that inspired one of my friends to pick it back up again and like, hey, I want to run a 5e campaign. Who's interested? And I was like, oh yeah, I'll get into
Yeah,
that.
why not? Well, have you
And
seen
then,
the Stranger Things starter box?
yes, I have. I've seen that at my local game store like every time. I haven't like there's a little bit of me that wants to get it, but I'm like I have all the starter books already. Like the little Demogorgon mini's cool, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I was thinking that that could be a fun thing, but I pretty much look at it the same way as like the Rick and Morty box set. It's like
Yeah.
not my cup. I don't need that. But I don't know. Maybe one day we could do like a mini campaign within the tavern or something. Could be a fun time.
The flavor text in the Rick and Morty book is hilarious. It's right on par with like all the little notes you get from Xanathar and Xanathar's Guide.
Right? Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
it's pretty entertaining as far as that goes.
yeah. So it's. I mean, I need to expand my collection. I don't think I have enough stuff back there, so I'll probably pick up one or both of them eventually.
More bookshelves.
Yeah, yeah. That's the plan. I need to actually readjust my whole thing anyway. I'm gonna be moving my studio. So anyway, we're way off topic now. So yeah, do the D&D, the survey. Let Wizards of the Coast know what you care about, how long they're playing, what you like, what you don't like, and they will probably listen. They're actually doing a pretty good job about that right now. So the next piece of news, sort of directly opposite of Wizards of the Coast, instead is going to Paizo. They have released or announced a new adventure path, which are basically their preset modules for campaigns. They do them up in small books as opposed to a big single $50 hardback. Interesting way to do it. I kind of liked it, but both of them are decent ways. This one though is called the Devastation Arc, and it is high level content. They have not actually released any high level content for Starfinder yet, so I think it's actually going to be really cool. Just to see the power difference that they're going to end up going with. So this one is level 13 through 20. The leveling system for Starfinder and Pathfinder, frankly, are both very similar to 5th edition, where level 1 you're nothing, and then by level 20 you're a god. So having that kind of high level content is going to be really cool, I think.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Pathfinder has like even like epic level stuff going
They
on as
do.
well, like post 20.
Yeah, I've picked up or I did the Humble Bundle a few weeks ago that we mentioned on the stream. Did the Humble Bundle there, picked up the rule book. I have not cracked it open yet. They haven't shipped me one, so I just have the digital one sitting somewhere in the internet.
Right.
So I
Same.
haven't played Pathfinder 2 yet. Oh, we're getting beat
Oh,
on the
yeah.
chat. Hello, everybody. We got, excellent. Yeah, we got Dire Rabbit, Kick Up High, and Warrior Streak. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. We're just talking news. So yeah, Starfinder it's a game that I kind of have a love-hate relationship with. I really, really want to figure out how to run it well, but there's some kind of inherent flaws in that I have stumbled up on whenever I'm trying to run it. The economy is really weird for one. So just trying to
The literal economy of the game.
yeah, the actual economy of the game is bizarre. And this is hyperbolic because I haven't looked at the rules in a while, but it was something like your starting laser pistol costs like 100 credits or 150 credits or something like that. The level 2 laser pistol, or the next level up that does 1d6 as opposed to 1d4 laser damage, is like 15,000 credits. Like there was a disproportionate jump. So there's a way to fix it. I just need to actually spend some time playing around with it, and having some high level content to look at might be the way to do that. I don't know.
It's like going from leather armor to full plate.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. But the thing that I find actually really interesting about this is the dedication to making some high level content. We were talking about this actually right before the stream, and there is not a whole lot of high level content out there for official publications. There's always somebody makes their own. Hey, check it out. Go, pick the teeth out of the floss out of this dragon's teeth or whatever. But as of most Wizards of the Coast stuff, stops tier 3. I think is where it would be. And you don't get a whole lot of end game content. So I'm hoping that this is going to become a sort of an industry thing.
Yeah, what we were saying, like almost all their official books those all those official campaign books stop at like level 12. So it's which is higher than lots of folks get with characters they they build, but
Yeah.
uh, getting all the way up there, having stuff that can take you all the way up there would be neat.
Yeah, just once I'd like to do a character from level 1 creation all the way through the end of the story arc and be like, hey, congratulations, they're level 20. That feels like probably a
Goals.
3-year campaign.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, at the very least, that the if you go back to if you think about like Critical Role, their first campaign, that was about a 3-year campaign, and they
oh,
went.
wow.
I think they didn't start broadcasting until they were a little higher than 1, so they were I think in the 3 to 5 range when they started actually streaming it.
Yeah, that sounds
But
right.
that's then that was 3 years on top of that is what got them to 20.
Yeah, that's so it's rare. We've seen it happen a couple times, but have you ever run a character all the way to 20?
Oh no,
No.
no. I
Right.
mean, like I said, it took them 3 years, and they literally played every week. It was on the schedule.
Yeah, I think 8 or 9 is the highest I've been outside, from
Yeah.
something that starts at 1, and that's
Say eight's the highest for me too. And that's from a that was a weekly game, and it was like bar D&D. It's like this is not super serious. It was a lot of fun, fast and loose with the story and plot points, but still, we played every week. We got all the way from 1 to 8 before we, and the only reason we stopped is because we moved across the country.
why did you do that? Come on.
Jobs.
Fair enough. Yeah, you got to figure out some way to pay Wizards of the Coast. So, other piece of news is normally we try and talk about the dev update for D&D Beyond a little bit. There wasn't one this week.
So nothing's changed.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. They did mention that from a couple others, like a couple minor settings, they've added in the spells, but that just came out as like a tweet. It wasn't even in the dev update, and there wasn't even a dev update I could find. So
Did y'all talk about this last week that in the encounter builder the DM actually has a dice roller now?
they mentioned that they were working on that. You've played with it though. How's that work?
I played with it. I used it last week when we finished up the Barber Silverman. So you've got your basic dice roller like you do on your player sheet, but you don't have any buttons for all the monsters and stuff where you can just click and it auto rolls it. So you've got to still pick out your dice and then roll what you want and add the modifiers in your head, which is fine.
Yeah,
Thankfully it's typically pretty easy math.
very little
But
multiplication and division. Yeah,
that's a start at least. But before last week there was just here's all the stuff. I hope you have some dice in front of you.
yeah. We've been repeating this on like Acquire at this point, but they're definitely leaning for a virtual tabletop.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that's coming.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if we don't see something like that by Christmas. That's just 3 months to bang that out with the rate that they're going. Yeah, it sounds doable. But everybody out there in the chat, if you have any opinions on whether or not where you think D&D Beyond is going or should go, let us know.
Actually, I want to make my official guess out a little further than Christmas. I think that their official virtual tabletop is going to be announced at their big live stream that they do next summer. Is going to be my guess.
Ooh, yeah, that would make sense.
They always have that big, well, until this year, always had that big in-person live stream where they brought, personalities and D&D contributors from all over the country and all that stuff. So that's going to be my guess.
Yeah, I could see that maybe beta starts sometimes. Like, hey, try this other thing, try that thing, and then they stitch it all together for the live stream. I could see that. That would make a lot of sense.
The dice roller is still in alpha. The encounter builder is in alpha or beta. All these bits and pieces that are going to get put together are being tested.
Yeah. Well, the dice builder or the dice roller definitely has some hiccups on it where you can. We were playing last night for the Learn to Play campaign, and players were like, "Yeah, I've hit the dice like 4 times and it's not going." It's like, oh, okay. And then they all roll at once. It's like, now you drown in d20s. Have a fun time. See, Dire Rabbit is interested in dark mode. I think that'd be interesting. I don't know
Yeah.
how they'd play with because D&D Beyond has like the art background. It's like all watermarked and stuff.
Which is fine, but just like the sheets themselves, all the white boxes, those are the biggest parts of the screen, really.
Yeah,
That's what I want dark mode for, is all the windows that have all the text and numbers in. That's what I want dark mode for, because you can pick art that is lighter or darker from
true.
the vast selection that's there, and but having a majority dark mode would be great. Yeah. Every other application on the internet in your internet browser has a dark mode.
Yeah, I use the. I kind of like having bright mode on, but that's just because I don't have a fancy like ring light or anything. So I actually use it to light my face as I'm streaming.
Fair enough. It's a good reason.
Yeah, it works.
Practical solution, right?
Yeah, modern
Mo-
problems require modern
Modern
solutions.
solutions,
Yeah.
exactly.
So yeah, there's unfortunately not a whole lot of updates coming out from D&D Beyond, but we have lots of speculation, and we love to hear what you guys think they're doing too. But here's a piece of news that I saw that I found interesting. One of the problems that we're having with this whole transition to virtual playing is being able to display the tabletop. We all have our own pet way of doing it. I'm starting to play around with Roll20. I know you're using Smeppy.
I love Schmeppy, yeah, for fast and loose maps.
Yeah, and
If
there's a
it's,
bunch of them.
yeah, I honestly, if you got the digital map already from whatever source you're using, honestly, just like throwing them on a Google Slide or PowerPoint. Well, Google Slide because then it's online and you can share it with people, your players.
Yeah, I like that idea. That those are problematic if you're trying to like implement like a fog of war kind of thing because it's clunky. That's what I did for the first campaign that you're in that I'm running. For the first encounter where we ran into the Bullywog's lair, and I'm like, hold on a second, let me edit these out. Uh, but actually using like a dedicated virtual tabletop, I find that kind of useful. But I'm still trying to find the one I like. Manticore Games and Wizard of the Coast have recently partnered up for a program called Core. Uh, I don't know a whole lot about this until I saw this piece of news. I'd never even heard of Core, but it looks like a basically make highly illustrated or highly like three-dimensional maps to make your dungeon or the world that you're playing in. And what they're doing, and this is where the news comes in. They are currently hosting a contest where you build a map that fits one of a handful of categories, which are dungeons, caves, catacombs, the wilderness, strongholds and towers, or elemental planes. And then you submit your map, and you do that just by the 6th. And there's rules on that website I just linked there.
It looks like downloading Core is free, so this
Yeah.
is a full-on like 3D render dungeon create or terrain creating software. I don't think D&D had a hand in the development of this. I think they're just tagging along with Core for this contest to get the word out.
Yeah. But the reason I highlight it is because the contest does have some pretty fabulous prizes. The best overall one gets a $5,000 Amazon gift card, which is not something to sneeze at. You can buy like my collection several times over for $5,000, or all of the Dungeon Forge stuff or Dwarven Forge stuff you want.
Well, I don't know. I think I may just get you one whole Kickstarter. Uh,
Yeah,
from Dwarven Forge.
yeah, but you get a lot of stuff there, and then all of the first prize, second prize, and participants for everybody get some prizes there too.
Right. In each of those categories, right?
Yeah, for each of the categories. So there's 4 first prizes, 1 best overall, 4 second prizes, and then all participants get a piece of art for Core. So I think it'll be interesting. I'm going to try it out just to see what it is. And yeah, and it's I believe that the deadline for this is actually coinciding with PAX not PAX Unplugged, PAX Online.
Close. PAX Online's first day of PAX Online is September 12th.
Yes, and they're showcasing the winners at PAX Online.
Gotcha. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
because this ends on the
Very
6th,
cool.
so that gives them a week to sort through the
To
garbage, and then the stuff
to
we submit.
judge.
Yeah. So it should be interesting. The guys from Acquisitions Incorporated are going to be there to talk about your dungeon. Really, it could be cool. And it's also teaming up with the Extra Life charity to throw in some extra money for each donation. So
Always a good cause.
yeah,
Extra Life, it's a great way to support and donate to children's hospitals all over the country. We've participated in a lot of Extra Life game-a-thons over the years. They do their 25-hour game-a-thon every fall and sometimes in the spring too, apparently. Like I feel like I had a friend do a 25-hour game-a-thon recently, and that wasn't last fall. I don't know.
that sounds heavy. Yeah, I don't know if I'd be able to do that.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, just keep the coffee coming at some point.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Naps often occur. Just it may be cheating, but I had to.
Yeah, we're not spring chickens anymore.
Certainly not.
Yeah, so check out the if you're interested in doing playing around with a new dungeon builder software and want to potentially win the admiration of all your peers. Check out the core contest. But that does tie us into one of the things we were talking about before the show, if with convention season. I don't know if anybody else noticed, but 2020 is a weird year. Uh, yeah. So unfortunately, most of the conventions have been canceled that we want to go to, or have been dramatically changed. Gen Con this year was online. I think Adepticon was straight up canceled. Uh, I think New York Comic Con is going to be purely online this year if it's not canceled at all.
I think I heard it was going to be virtual this year again.
Which, yeah, I think it'll be an interesting way to see what's going up. But coming up in the next couple weeks, we have a few. So you were talking about some you were interested in.
Oh yeah, the big two on my list are coming up fairly soon. ReaperCon. ReaperCon Online is coming up September 3rd through the 7th. That's so Reaper Miniatures makes fantasy and actually some sci-fi minis at often an amazing price point too.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they're based out of Denton, Texas, so they are actually made in America. uh, I've I've got to go to ReaperCon in person back in 2018. I actually got to tour the plant and see them like literally pour the molten metal and make a sprue of metal minis. It was
Oh,
fantastic.
cool.
It's just a really cool thing to see. So they're doing their ReaperCon completely virtual this year, and it's completely free. So most of the sign up stuff you can do in ReaperCon is taking a lot of in-person classes with professional miniature painters. Well, they're doing it free this year and still offering a boatload of online or virtual classes through Twitch and I think some other platforms as well. Painting classes, and they offered their swag bags online. I think you can maybe still go online and order some if you want, but me and my wife, we ordered the all of them and got all our swag, and we got our swag a couple days ago.
Yeah, you were
And it,
unboxing that on the Discord.
yeah,
It's some wild stuff.
our pile of amazing stuff is still laid out on my kitchen table, just like, yes. Yeah, so it's really looking forward to that, and you can sign up for those classes for ReaperCon right now. Like, you go ahead and register for them. Some of them do kind of encourage you to get you need some supplies if you want to follow along, but a lot of them are going to be more demonstration based, and just check out the descriptions to see if that'd be interesting to you. And they do everything from even airbrush basics to how to paint hair to they get into real nitty gritty stuff because they have tons of classes going on all throughout that 4 day period. The other big one is PAX. PAX Online, which is likely going to replace PAX West, PAX OS, and at the rate we're going, probably PAX Unplugged as well at this point.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't see that being a thing that's going to happen this year.
That's coming up in middle of September. It starts September 12th, and they're going for a full 9 days of online convention stuff from the
Yeah.
12th through the 20th. They're going to be occupying 3 full Twitch channels, basically 24/7. This is going to include esports opportunities. PAX often does, just except for PAX Unplugged, huge amounts of video game tournaments that are going on throughout the entire convention. So there's going to be that going on. They're going to have panels. The panel submission deadline has already passed. That was at the end of July, but that means the schedule for all their panels should be coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm on their website right now. There isn't anything there that I can see yet. But we still have a couple weeks before it's going to come up live. So, well, hopefully they'll have that all sorted out.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. PAX West is a PAX I probably would never be able to get to otherwise, just by virtue of it being usually at the very beginning of the school year for me, and I usually can't take off 2 or 3 days of the first week of school without
Good
risking
reasons, yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, PAX is. I've only been to Unplugged, and that was wild. Really, one of the things that sort of tried to, sort of got me kicking the pants to get back into tabletop gaming and hardcore. Is was like, I'll do it maybe once a month, and it's like, no, this is a great activity center, and inspiration place to sort of get you going.
Yeah,
And
PAX Unplugged is a great time. We got to go last year and for the first time, and we had a blast. It's one of the most chill conventions I've ever been to, especially for the
yeah,
sheer size and population of people that are there.
yeah. Last year was over like almost 3 convention halls, 2 city blocks, or something like that. It was
Something like that.
monstrous.
And it's still just, it feels super calm and chill the whole time,
Yeah.
even though there's just a buzz of activity going on all around you.
Yeah, I remember because the vendor hall is sort of at one end of the hall, but they close it off at like 6 or 7 or something like that.
Yeah,
And
for
we
the
were walking
expo.
around. It's like, what? It's only like 3 o'clock. And we looked down. It's like, no, we've been here for almost 12 hours. Let's go find a
Never
chair.
mind.
Yeah, so that's. I'm really excited to see what they're actually going to do with that. It'll be a little different now that it's not in person, but it's PAX is always still a good time. So I think it'll hopefully they'll be able to live up to with everything else going on.
Yeah, honestly, some of my favorite stuff is going to the panels at PAX anyway. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they have available, and just hoping all the coolest things aren't happening at the same time. Really,
Yeah, at least with it goes on Twitch, I'm assuming they're going to be putting it up on the video on demand or something.
they usually do even for their live shows. They broadcast most of the stuff they do on their Twitch channels and leave it up on VOD.
Nice.
And they're going to be occupying 3 full Twitch channels the entire time. So probably not going to be that much overlap, but I imagine there's going to be a lot of third-party Twitch channels happening. They're going to be related at the same time.
Oh yeah, absolutely no doubt about that one. But yeah, it'll be fun to check that out. Is there anything in particular you're looking for? Any announcements that have already been said? Any companies that are like, hey, we're going to be there to look for our panel?
Uh, no, not really. Nothing that's really jumping out at me. One of the things that I've most enjoyed about PAX in the last 5 years has been seeing acquisitions incorporated live.
Okay.
Or in this case, watching it live. For any of the PAXs I don't actually get to go to in person, still watching it is a great time. I really enjoy watching. I really enjoy watching those guys play D&D, and with Jeremy Crawford being their official DM now, he's a joy to watch. Chris Perkins was great too, but Jeremy Crawford is amazing.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of it last year. I don't know. At some point, I saw a little bit of it, and it was like, yeah, that's actually a lot of fun. Just seeing
And
someone who knows that much about the game.
He's the lead rules designer,
Yeah,
like, and he runs the game fully within the rules, and seeing him run the game fully within the rules and still see how fun it is and how much cool stuff you can do still actually following everything raw,
yeah,
rules as written, is great.
yeah. So I'll have to check out some of that. I'm looking. I think it should be a good time. Any other conventions that you're excited about coming up, or because those are the two big ones that are.
Those are the big ones on my radar right now.
Yeah, I know that Dragon Con is also, I believe, at the same time as PAX or as ReaperCon, and that's usually like a big cosplay event, I believe. So I've seen a lot of really cool like cosplay costumes coming out. I don't know much about that except that the internet gets really interesting, around Dragon Con days.
It's fair, fair.
Besides that, I think that's most of the things that are actually coming up the next month or so. So we'll keep our ears open and see if anything else is coming down.
Yep. Keep the updates coming on those. Yeah.
Well, speaking of conventions, probably my favorite local convention is the Nova Charity Open or Nova Open Invitational. Something I don't know. It's the Nova Open. Is what everyone calls it, and it has a fancier name. That unfortunately got canceled because of 2020. And one of the big problems about that is that they do a lot of charity work there. They have people from painters and modelers from all over the world paint up a whole multiple armies even of miniatures. A lot of them are focused on like war games, so Warhammer, historical war games, that kind of stuff. But a lot of it is also solo miniatures that are then auctioned off and are and the proceeds all go to charities. This year they're working with the Fisher House, which is a charity which teams up with soldiers' families that are coming back and they need to get medical attention. It gives them hotel rooms that are close to the hospital to be able to help them out. It's a really good charity. Keeps the whole family together kind of thing, as opposed to just sending them off to a VA hospital and they'll hear from them when they hear from them kind of deals. It keeps the whole family together. They're also teaming up with Doctors Without Borders, which is a huge deal right now. With everything going on, Doctors Without Borders work has not stopped, and there's still a bunch of other problems in the world besides COVID, and they're on top of that. And then the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. So all three of these charities are receiving the money that ends up getting donated, raffled off, bid on. Basically, you basically buy a ticket for an army for. They range anywhere from like $5 to $10 for a ticket, and the winner gets a beautifully painted army. If you like Warhammer 40,000, I think there's like 3 Ultramarines armies up there this year.
Only 3?
Only 3, yeah. There's a couple really big Titans. And overall, just a whole bunch of really, really beautiful models. So if you want to check that out and maybe throw some money for the good cause, check out the link at the, in the description, or in the description. I don't know why I said that. Link in the chat there that I just threw in. It takes you to the Nova Open Foundation's org website, and it'll allow you to place some bids if you see something that catches your eye. I normally put in quite a bit of money trying to buy or win the Titan, and it's like, yeah, all right, well, my $50
because buying an actual Titan and painting it is just pretty unrealistic.
It's a year. Yeah, I did the math on that one last year, I think, last Nova Open, where I was like, oh, hey, the Titan that they had was like a $2,000 Titan. It's ridiculous.
So one of those Forge World, 3-foot tall ones.
It's basically a baby wearing, a toddler wearing costume. So it's like, I can throw, I'll put $50 in and get 10 tickets or whatever, and I have to win. I didn't win. But it's like, all right, I'm angry and I'm at the bar. How much would this cost? $2,000. Okay. That's basically my gaming or my miniatures budget for quite a while. It's like, yeah, that would be my 2020 project of the year if I was doing that, because. Yeah,
might take y'all the whole year to paint it too.
Yeah,
I don't know,
because I'm not going to half-ass that. It's like, right. Yeah, everything's getting free-handed, but they're beautiful models. This year they do have a big Titan up there again too. This one has a gigantic gun on its back, if you like that. So check them out. It's again, money goes to a good cause, and again, you can get something really cool out of that. And then finally, this is something that's a little more near and dear to my heart than probably any of the viewers or even read. Goodman Games has announced and has up for pre-order the 5th book in their Original Adventures Reincarnated series. Yay! This one is going to be the Castle Amber module. So if you've been playing since the early 80s or played some stuff from the early 80s, you might be familiar with the Castle Amber. It is... I don't want to say it's the original Funhouse dungeon, but it is. It's certainly up there. There's some weird, wacky stuff that goes on.
The first 5, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, easily. There's some bizarre things that happen in Castle Amber. Like there's an indoor forest. There's halls of mirrors. There's something called like the Bleeding Archway. It's a bunch of really, really cool stuff. It's a whole castle.
Sounds like a haunted house.
Yeah, kind of, but it's a castle. But the art is phenomenal. Everyone is, that's from that will recognize the cover art is a giant knocking over a tower, and it's just there. You probably recognize it if you've seen it. Like, oh yeah, that. And they're bringing that back. So it'll be a really good time. I really do like this series. I have wrong way. I have a whole bunch of them right here. My thing's mirrored. I have a whole bunch of them. I have all 4 of the ones that are currently out. And,
so you've already pre-ordered this one then?
I haven't yet. No, I'm actually not pre-ordering it because I try to buy them from the local stores.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough.
I think I'm the only person in Northern Virginia buying these, so there's no competition to get them. But they're fun. I really like them. That's one of the campaigns that I'm running is for Corey and a whole bunch of people on the Discord. We're running through Into the Borderlands right now, and they are currently stuck in another dungeon that's less funhousey and more just piles of kobolds.
So many kobolds. Oh
So many kobolds. Yeah, you guys had a hard time fighting those. I was not expecting it to go that badly.
There was own little kobold funhouse section of the dungeon, except it wasn't fun.
Yeah, just the maze of doors. Like, why? Why is this like this?
Why? All the doors shut automatically. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was fun. But it's one of the things I really do like about this series is it takes the old school modules, tries to keep the flavor as much as they can, and then brings them up into 5th edition mechanics. And it keeps them more or less the same deadliness on there. Because I almost took out the Corey plays a half-orc barbarian, right? Or half-orc fighter. Fighter. And with just kobolds, like, hey, he's almost down. He had to pop his "I'm not going to die today" action as a half-orc. It's like, oh,
that's
okay.
a great racial trait.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's like, okay, cool. That's the gauge that I was expecting, because it should be a deadly dungeon there. Whereas if you look at something like the Tomb of Horrors, if you play that rules as written, it's not as deadly as it used to be. So keeping that transition there, the Goodman Games team is fantastic at doing that kind of thing. And everybody is super angry about the kobolds. So sorry, guys.
I think we got most of them.
Yeah. So if you're in my campaign, just know that at some point you might go to Castle Amber, and just hopefully don't get there before October, because it doesn't come out to the 30th of October.
Man, if we powered through that many levels that soon, I'd be impressed. It means basically you just wanted us to do it.
Yeah, that might happen. I still have 3 other books to get you guys through. But yeah, it's with that coming out in October, and Strahd coming out in October, and Icewind Dale coming out in mid-September. This fall is going to be really good for gaming. I'm looking forward to it.
A lot of neat stuff coming out.
Yeah.
The teasers about Icewind Dale that we're getting every week are great. Chris Perkins, you bastard, you keep posting cool shit like this is what's coming, and we're like, maybe I will pre-order it. No, hang on, this is woosah. All right.
Yeah, I pre-ordered it from a local game store. I'm like, hey, get me the alt art one.
That's smart.
Yeah, because I need to replace the Tyranny of Dragons up there with something cuter and fluffier.
The snow owl monster. That's
The
what you
Frost
want?
Maiden. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Frost Maiden in
Well,
one of her forms. Yes.
I've decided, because I'm me, I guess, and I have nothing better to do with my time. Once I realized that almost everything has an alt art cover, I'm like, ooh, no, I need to do that now, and I should have started picking these up earlier. So I'm going to need to completely replace my library, and it's the worst. It is the worst. Yeah, Kobolds did roll
Poor
really
guy.
freaking high. Just looking at Arcline in the chat there, just complaining that they rolled an average of 15. A lot of the things that they hit, or that they didn't hit, I was just like, oh, and it misses wildly, or I didn't even include it. It's like, yeah. But yeah, my dice were on fire that day. So sorry about that, guys. So we're going to go ahead and take 5 minutes here, just reset, fill my drinking more water, and then we'll come back and we're going to be talking about the Barber of Silvery Moon. So while we're on break, everybody out there, let us know what you're most looking forward to coming up in the next few months, because we have we've gone over a few things that are going to be coming out over the past few episodes of Happy Hour. So let us know what you're most excited about, what you're hoping is going to get launched, and we'll see you in a few minutes. All right, be right back. Wait, hold on. Technology. Hey everybody, welcome back. I don't know if you went anywhere, but we did. All right, let's
And then
see
we
what.
came back.
And then we came back, exactly. All right, so Kikapai is saying that he does not need more books. That's wrong.
That's not true. Why would you put a limit on books?
Yeah, they're full of knowledge and stuff.
That's right. I got books and books and probably more books coming from Kickstarter, and I don't even remember.
Yeah, yeah. There's gonna be some interesting stuff coming in my. Because I realized my Kickstarter was hooked up to a different email address that I just kind of forgot about.
Oh, wow.
And
Nice.
I'm like, why am I not getting Kickstarter notifications for the things I backed? And I went in there. I was like, oh, I have like 15 pledge managers I need to take care of. Oh no.
Kickstarter is great for spending money and then being surprised sometime in the
Yeah,
future.
they're presents to
Like,
future me.
oh, I have this stuff. This is a present from old me. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Warrior Streak. There are two kinds of people who want more: those who want more game books and those who are wrong.
Yeah,
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 yeah, that works.
100%. I'm with you there, Warrior. Yeah.
So for the main event of the evening, we wanted to talk about the Barber of Silvery Moon campaign. So first, where did you find Barber of Silvery Moon? I thought that was actually a really interesting time. So why don't you unpack that for us?
So this is going to be the first in a series of when a campaign ends or a one shot ends, lessons learned, from your players.
Yeah, we
Uh,
want to try and bring.
I
that
have
in.
notes. I have notes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. What you
Okay.
get?
Yeah. So I found the Barber of Silvery Moon in a Dragon Plus issue. So Dragon Magazine is an old Dungeons and Dragons publication. A couple of years back, they started doing Dragon Plus, which is basically an all virtual D&D zine, I guess, if
Yeah.
you want to call it that. That they put out every couple of months. The time period is varied for how often they get it out. There was a stretch where they were coming out with one every week, or not every week, every month, and they're great. It often included free stuff. You'd often get free maps, like maps made by like the best map makers, like Mike Schley and Dyson Logos, stuff like that. These people that make really high quality maps for Dungeons and Dragons professionally, and often free adventures from DM's Guild or other adventure writers. From like the DM's Guild. What do they call it? The Guild Adepts.
Yeah,
Like
that sounds
yeah.
right.
So this adventure came out to coincide with Volo's Guide to Monsters when that book first released, and it was
Oh,
basically designed to be an adventure that showcased a lot of the monsters and stuff that were in Volo's Guide. So, like, I saw some of the comments like, "Oh, that's a rarely used, monster or something" in chat, like, "Oh, a flail snail. I haven't seen one of those in a long time," something like that, because all of those critters, almost everything that y'all encountered. No, actually, everything y'all encountered came from Volo's guide. There
okay.
wasn't a single critter or monster in there that was just out of the player's handbook. You guys, as
Interesting.
players, were the
Yeah.
only critters and monsters from the player's handbook. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, that's kind of really cool. I'm glad to hear that. That's
Yeah,
cool
and
tie-in.
I read it when it came out. I like downloaded it immediately. I was reading Dragon Plus whenever it came out and was pulling all the cool stuff I could, and I thought this seemed like just ridiculous amounts of fun. Like this was I would love to be able to throw this in to a campaign at some point. Like this would just be hilarious. It'd be a lot of fun to do. Just the writing of it was bonkers. I think the guy that actually wrote the adventure is a comedic writer in a lot of respects, and he's an illustrator.
It shows.
There's a map that he created along with it that it's in a very cartoony style. It's kind of an isometric map of the barber shop and everything below it. And you can find and like the whole cellar and the barber shop of evil right below it and everything like that, and the
Barbershop of
caves
Evil.
below.
Was that what that was actually called? The Barbershop of Evil.
Yes, it was.
Nice. That
Yeah,
works.
but you can find the map and the adventure on DM's Guild, and it's there for free. I think there is an option to, if you want to pay something, you can, but you can get it for free, and there's a link to the map in the adventure, and it's amazing. I don't think we can show it, but it is a great thing. I think all of you that played it should definitely look at it just for the Easter eggs and the things that you saw and maybe didn't see.
Yeah, there was a lot of
It's
stuff going
very
on.
entertaining to look at.
Well, excellent. Now, Dragon Magazine is free on the Dungeons and Dragons website, I believe. So it's
And there's a mobile app for it too. I always
oh,
like
nice.
had it downloaded on my phone or my iPad or whatever, and would pull it up and read it there.
There we go. And the Barber of Silvery Moon. I threw that there in the chat for everybody to take a part in, take a look at. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and for a free adventure, that's kind of wild. I know that with
Yeah.
like free RPG Day tends to have some pretty off the wall, interesting adventures, but most other free adventures you end up pulling off of websites aren't up to that kind of snuff. So that does.
The quality was definitely there for this one, that's for sure. This wasn't necessarily the most balanced dungeon in the world or whatever, but that honestly, it was just so well written and put together. Like I loved it.
Okay.
I loved it.
How long have you been sitting on this one? You said.
Yeah, 3 years probably.
Oh
I don't know, when did Volos come out? Because I've been sitting on it easily since then. So
wow.
that's
I don't know.
about
It's 5 feet away.
yeah
I can't grab it.
yeah that's that. I've had it since probably right before Volo's Guide to Monsters came out. Yeah.
All right. Excellent. So, biggest questions there. I'm sure if you guys in the chat have any questions you want to ask him, feel free. But in the meantime, we'll just plow ahead with things I think are interesting. So, what were some of the lessons learned versus what you expected to have happened versus what actually happened? And did you learn something out of that, or was it just sort of like, oh well, these players are weird? What was your takeaways?
Um. So this was, it was a pre-written adventure, and it was set in the city of Silvery Moon. It's in the title, but so pre-made adventures give you a lot of stuff, but they don't necessarily give you everything. You've always got to think about maybe what are your players going to ask about. And I did some research ahead of time, and thankfully Silvery Moon is, this is an established city in the Forgotten Realms canon. There's a wiki, you can look up stuff. And I did. I went online. I found out some extra information that I could add in because I knew inevitably it would come up. And then I still got surprised. Like when Anna asked what year is it, I stalled so hard. Like, I don't know.
Like, why are
What
you
year
asking
is
these
it?
questions?
Yeah, like I think a better response on my part would have been, why? Like, what information are you looking for, basically? Because she might have very well been fishing for something specific that I just didn't know. And I did not even think to consider what like year is it in this timeline. But I tried to do my homework ahead of time because I've DM'd a lot of things over the years and I've learned a lot from my players because of that. So I figured out what the taverns were and stuff like that in the area. I saw the stuff about the mythal in Silvery Moon where certain types of magic don't work, and I debated on whether I just hand wave that or not, frankly. But when I looked at all y'all's spells and what you had, I thought there's only like one fire spell out there anyway. It's not a big deal. I'm just gonna let the mythal exist and see if anybody asks or notices.
That works. So one of the lessons that I think Dire Rabbit's throwing at you is don't put an adorable creature in the game if you don't want people to talk to it and become its best friends.
So I never considered snails that adorable, much less giant, iridescent, multi-hued. Okay, I guess I can see where it might come in. Okay, but uh, I was not expecting. I was not expecting that. Like like I said, I actually looked at my players' spell list ahead of time. That's why I asked all of you to please make them the night before, or have everything done the night before at least, so I can spend Wednesday looking at the janky stuff y'all can do, and I could try and plan outcomes for stuff that I thought might happen. I still had no idea that Quentin was going to try and interview an alley full of cats. That was a complete surprise.
Yeah, that
Had
just
no
happened.
expectation of that. It's like, okay, well, I guess these cats are going to be like wise guys now, so that's what I did. And wise guy catnip addicts, which did not even think about the Heward's spice pouch, handy spice pouch, pulling catnip out of that. I'm like, you know what though? That I think that's an easy yes.
Yeah, yeah.
As far as like, it's an herb, sure, why not? All right, cool. But also, actually, that the spell with Henry the Snail, which Henry literally just made up. The snail had no name in the adventure, but the speak with animals should actually not have worked with Henry the Flail Snail.
Oh, really?
Flail snails are technically elementals. They are not beasts. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
but I did not even think about that at the time. It wasn't until I think after we had already ended the night, and maybe not even until a day or two later, that I thought about that. Like, wait, hmm, you know what? We're just gonna roll with it. It's already happened once. It's
Mhm.
gonna continue to happen. It's fine. Everybody, everybody loved Henry. Everybody, the players, the audience. There was, my wife threatening to riot if Henry was killed. Several, I think Crystal was threatening Josh if he ate Henry, they would quit or something. I don't know.
Yeah, there was a lot of drama flying around the back behind the scenes on that one.
Which it was unexpected and hilarious. Like, well, it's a snail. It's has literally like I think the flail snail has a 2 or 3 intelligence. So we're not talking about terribly intelligent creatures here. So I just strung a few words together and gave it no object permanence, and just there we go.
It worked. It was a fun character to play with.
Yeah, it one of the biggest lessons that I'm taught time after time that I never seem to learn is this is probably the case for most DMs is that no matter how much you think you've prepared, your players are still going to surprise you
Yes.
every single time. There is there will always be something. It doesn't matter if your players are brand new or if they've been playing for 10 years. It's often those brand new ones that will surprise you because they'll have thought of something from their very fresh perspective without any sort of lens or filter over it that no one's ever thought of before.
Yeah. And we have Dire Rabbit in the chat saying, "Don't plan." No, no, you need to plan.
I don't think I can ad lib quite everything.
Yeah. Like I found having a plan of, hey, this is what's going on in the city and whatnot, and then the players decide to go burn down the orphanage or whatever it is my players are going to do.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, now I know characters and factions in the city or whatnot, and I can play with that as opposed to having to all of a sudden start flipping through the Waterdeep book and figuring out what the hell is going on.
Yeah, your players are always going to surprise you. So a few things help with that. Like for one, if you're running a campaign, um, you're really never going to be able to predict when a shopping episode is going to happen. When the whole session's going to, or half the session's going to be dedicated to your players have reached a critical mass of loot and want to spend it. I've experienced this very recently. Like,
I heard, yeah.
yeah, like shopping episodes happen often when you least expect it, and you gotta be prepared to make some shit up. Let's be real. Having a price list from the PHB or having that pulled up in a browser in D&D Beyond helps a lot, and and then just be prepared to come up with some names of shopkeepers. But sometimes they're not even going to ask the shopkeepers' names. Also,
Yeah.
vague descriptions are great, and then throw a quirk in every now and then. Like this happened literally last night. We're I was running my Wild Mount campaign for my wife and a couple of friends from back in Texas, and beginning of the first half of our session was they had too much gold. Apparently, they did not want to carry that gold anymore. They wanted to buy some stuff. So like, oh, I had spent like hours before getting ready for this session and planning some stuff out and some possible adventure paths for them. Did not even think this was gonna. That's what they wanted to do. Is they wanted to go spend all their money and buy stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I have a boatload of content for next week at least.
Now you've planned ahead. That's
Now I'm planned ahead. Yeah, this has very much become a campaign where I'm really only planning like a week or two at a time. I am not. I don't have grand plans yet. Sorry, hon. I don't. I don't have grand plans yet. Don't tell our friends. But I'm just kind of going by the seat of my pants. I'm taking sort of the sly flourish approach to this as much as possible. The return of the lazy dungeon master.
now. What do you mean by the sly flourish approach?
So Sly Flourish is a he's a D&D writer. He's written a lot of books in relation to it, but his probably his most famous book or series of books, because he's done kind of a remake of his original, is Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, which advocates reducing the amount of prep and pressure you put on yourself as a dungeon master. As you know, having some preset lists of things, and we I think you've talked about this before in the happy hour. We've talked about this before. So having a list of names of various races that you know they might encounter ahead of time, and where you can just jot a name or jot a brief description down next to it after
Yeah.
you end up using the name. Like they're going to walk into a random shop. You never know what store is right next to me. You got to make it up. You got to make it up on the spot and figure out who's in charge. And you have some names there, which is way better than just Boblin the Goblin uh, over and over again and his entire family. Uh, than just jotting that description down next to the name. I've been using a lot of his lessons a lot in this Wild Mount campaign that I'm running.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, I've actually been starting to watch some of his stuff on YouTube. I never got handed on the actual books, but in the meantime, his YouTube stuff's pretty good.
He's great. I think he's a he's a great wealth of information, and he's got a lot of good, very practical advice, especially from the aspect of he's trying to help you do more without spending all of your waking hours preparing for it.
Yeah, that's definitely a struggle with with some of the It's like,
Yeah,
well, I have to do this, I have to do that. It's like,
like not you don't have to create a literally 300 years of history for your world and have all of that ready to go for session 1. This is relax. You may not even get to session 2. Why would you prepare that much?
haven't thought about it that way. Okay. Yeah, it's so check out Sly Flourish, everybody. Sure.
For sure. Yeah.
So digging back into the Barber of Silvery Moon, one of the big things there that I think is probably a big set piece that the grandest set piece of that would be the Barbershop of Evil. Uh, like that really sort of took me, jumped out at me as like, oh yeah, that seems important. Uh,
There's a lot of descriptors
yeah,
in the write up for that, which were hilarious and dark. Like I did not I honestly didn't have to take I didn't take a lot of artistic liberties with the
really.
descriptions because a lot of that was there already. I just kind of threw a few more adjectives and adverbs in there, and that was it was great. Like this spoilers. Sorry for those of you that haven't seen it, but I think everyone currently watching saw what happened.
Probably, yeah.
So our the actual barber has been kidnapped and basically has two clones. A good clone that has no idea what's going on, and an evil clone that kidnaps people at night and literally experiments on them in his barber shop. And this is like a medieval barber surgeon, so he's does dental work and hair and all this other stuff and some small medical procedures like leeching and stuff like that.
But it still looks very much like a modern barbershop. It's a cool mix of that.
Above ground on the outside, yeah.
Yeah.
It's an actual it looks like a barber shop, yeah. This the floor below where the evil barber resides is a shop of horrors. Not a little shop.
It's
A
pretty
larger
big.
shop of
Yeah,
horrors.
I think it was bigger than the actual ground floor.
It is, yeah. It's bigger below ground. Yeah. There's the art for it and that isometric illustration of it is it's amazing. It's amazing. And there was a lot there, honestly, that we just didn't get to. or wasn't interacted with that I
Oh, really?
that I thought could be really interesting. Like there's a lot of bits and pieces within the little barbershop of evil that that the players could have literally picked up and used, and I had stat blocks for it.
Oh, damn.
Or magical items in some of the closets that you could have used and literally had some like permanent effects on your characters.
Huh. Okay.
But some of it came down to honestly time constraints. We were all kind of feeling it at that point, and which is a whole other lesson in itself is time management and setting your expectations. When I first proposed doing this little two shot, I told everyone like I don't think this will take 6 hours to get through. I think these are probably going to be shorter sessions for 2 weeks, like maybe like 2 hours or whatever. And then we were like into that first session, and we hadn't even taken our break yet, and it was after 8:30. I'm like, oh crap, this is gonna take longer than I thought.
Yeah.
All the role playing that we did in the very very beginning of that first session. I had background information on Silver Moon. I did not. I guess I really didn't expect my players, you guys, to jump into it as much as you did. I'm glad you did. It was great. That was great TV, as it were. But I just did not anticipate it getting into it that much. I kind of thought we'd get to the point about a half hour into the second session before we quit the first session. So I thought we'd get to like my original thought was we'd get probably down to that barbershop of evil by the end of the first session, and we really didn't. We were
No, we were nowhere near
we
it.
were we were 30 to 45 minutes away from that when we got there into in the second session. So it is what it is. I think if we hadn't felt a little rushed, there could have been a little more exploration in that floor. And I was trying to be descriptive and throw some hints out there, but I was also aware of the time constraints. I'm like, well, that's a shame. But there were like dyes that could have changed your hair into like lightning and stuff like that. Like literally looked like you had like a mane of like static electricity on your head. There were like hair products in that closet that led down into the caves below that had all sorts of weird effects that you could have used on your character. There was literal snake oil that
Oh,
if you'd used that definitely would not have come up in this little two shot, but if in a long running campaign a player had used it like once a day for a week, would have given them snake hair like a Medusa.
all right. Well, we have Vash saying she wanted to know what was going on with that guy when he was monkeying around with the furnace.
Okay, so the furnace, there's sort of like a furnace hooked up to a chair, like one of those hair dryers you'd see in a barbershop or in a hairdresser's place, where they put the like the cone down over your
Yeah.
head to dry your hair or whatever. And you could have, since I didn't think any of you would go over and monkey with it, I had one of the NPC bad guys do it. You can like detach the hose and the cone and use it as basically a little makeshift flamethrower.
Wow. Okay.
There were settings on it. It ends up this is the device that also erases people's memories. So
Oh,
there's
okay.
settings on it like warm, uh, bake, and then like one of them's like burn down at the bottom. And it's like a cone of fire shoots out of this thing and it does a ridiculous amount of fire damage and stuff like that. Yeah.
So I have just found the Barber of Silvery Moon art that you were talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and link that in the chat there, so everyone can see just how absolutely just monstrosity or monstrous this is.
It's epic. It's amazing.
Yeah, go take a look at that. It is fantastic. I'm sitting here just panning through. I'm like, oh yeah, what's happening with this thing? Oh yeah, that's terrifying. Yep, that
Yep.
is very terrifying.
Yep. Yep. They were hair dyes made from the excretions that came off those three grungs that y'all found in that closet.
Right. Yeah, the
And
big frogmans. Yeah.
yeah, one of them like gives you extra jumping ability, another one lets you do spider climb, and another one gives you like perpetually wet hair or something, but it means that your hair like once a day can act like a decanter of endless water depending on how long your hair is.
It's amazing.
And another one I think would have I think the one that said loud means basically your hair crinkles and makes noise all the time. Like you have disadvantage on stealth checks from here on out, but you can like if you have long enough hair, like wave your hair, rock your hair out, and thunder wave with it.
Wow. Okay. That's okay.
There were just so many janky things, and then there were like the dental drills on the side wall. You could have picked those up and used them as weapons.
Wow. Yeah.
But they're like experimental tools. Like if you tried using them too many times, there was a cumulative chance that it could have exploded.
I've always loved stuff like that. Like, what is it? The Paranoia has that kind of mechanic with their laser
Yeah,
pistols.
it's some was just bonkers in there. Yeah,
Yeah, this is a severely messed up map here. I'm going to go ahead and just stop looking at it because, yeah.
it's great.
Yeah, it's very good.
It's great. I was really the literally as written in that adventure, that bottom level in that largest cave, there were 45 Svarts in there, and the hag.
Yeah, that's. So if we had gone that way, there was no way we were going to be able to take on 45 Svarts before just the action economy. We will lose that.
Probably, most likely. Some of the saving grace is that they all can't do something to you at once. Like it's just physically impossible.
Yeah, they can't all get
based on
in.
the size. Yeah, and that was something else that I was looking at in the spell list, basically from everybody is like, nobody has fireball. That's a shame. But we got lightning bolt and spirit guardians. I've seen spirit guardians used to amazing effect before. Lightning bolt too has got that the long path and it can just tear through a bunch. And there was gonna if we actually did get to that fight, there was going to be a fair bit that was going to get hand waved. Like there's Varts, they auto fail these saves. They're just going to dissolve in these spells because they only had a handful of hit points each. These are designed. They only work through strength of numbers. That's their whole idea. They're along the lines of kobolds or goblins as far as like a challenge level.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Their little extra thing is when they have an ally near them or near their target, they get advantage on those grapple checks to like shove people over and knock people down.
Those were so annoying.
That's why they kept doing it because that's like their only shtick is like if they can mess with you and try and knock you over and then dogpile you.
Yeah, I mean it worked.
Yeah, it was super annoying, and that was the point. And the hag in the end was one of the new hags that came out in Volos. It was supposed to be one of the Annie's hags, which is the only hag that is a large fae, and it's just a bruiser hag. She actually has the fewest number of like magical abilities out of all the hags. She's just a big nasty bruiser that eats children.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been.
I mean, all hags eat children, but
I mean that's kind of the thing. Yeah.
That's kind of the thing. It's the thing, but yeah.
So let's see. We have R. Klein being excited about Thunderwave hair. Yeah, that's.
yeah. It was a thing. There's actually a whole device down at the bottom level that can dye your hair.
Oh, the prismatic coloring machine.
Yes, this coloring machine down at the very bottom level that can dye your hair and give you weird magical effects that, at DM's discretion, are permanent, essentially.
That is amazing. Yeah, just looking through this, it ranges from hair turns to fire, hair turns to lightning, subject becomes a Yuan-Ti, all the way up to hair becomes a gateway to another plane.
Yep. It's pretty wonky, and there's even a result on the die roll. Never mind, go back and roll twice, and both effects happen.
Roll twice, yeah. Oh my goodness, that is. I wonder if that'd be cumulative. It's like, oh, I keep rolling 8s. Oh gosh.
But there's also there's a chance this thing may explode as well.
I see.
Depending on who's using it. If you had kept evil Juge, the barber, alive, I think he has advantage on making that thing not explode or getting you the result you want, stuff like that.
Ah, okay, interesting. It's
Yeah.
very
Oh,
cool.
and since Rich is in chat, the evil comb that combed your hair never got to come into play, but your hair is possessed now and it's evil, and it would have messed with you later. But since you had relatively short hair, the effects weren't going to be that dangerous. Probably would have just given you disadvantage on a key check or attack at some point.
That is amazing. I love that. Yeah, this is just a really fun little adventure.
Yeah, it's there were so many neat little cool things in there. And it's a shame we didn't get to them all, but that's just a reality of role playing games. Is
Yeah.
that unless you like really really railroad your players, which I do not advocate at all, um, they're not always going to find everything, and you've got to be okay with that.
Yeah,
If you think something's really really cool,
bring it back.
bring it back again later. They didn't know they missed it.
Yeah, that's generally the way that I approach things. Like, hey, I have this list of really cool magic items. They didn't even open the chest. Oh, okay, okay. Well, guess what's in the next chest?
Right? Yeah. I mean, all of these things are very, very, very thematic, and wouldn't necessarily show up everywhere. But if time was not an issue when we were doing this two shot, I imagine there would have been a lot more shenanigans with this. Or if you dropped this adventure into a pre-existing campaign, because it doesn't have to be in Silvery Moon. There were no details about Silvery Moon in the write-up
Yeah,
beyond the name Silvery Moon. I added all the actual Silvery Moon specific stuff myself. This could literally happen anywhere. And one of the things that it talks about at the very beginning is, this is supposed to be a whimsical, fun adventure. If your players are asking around and thinking, why has no one asked the barber yet? Um, why has no one checked on the barber if everybody's coming back with a fabulous hair after they've disappeared? Uh, just let it go. This is supposed to be ridiculous and fun. It's not that
yeah. It's
serious.
like, why would we check on Juge? He's a great guy. Like, shut up.
Basically, yeah. You actually also would have found out that he took out a loan to buy that flail snail because flail snails super expensive.
Yeah, they look expensive.
Like taking out a loan from like a fey loan shark.
Ah, and that's how the hag sort of gets involved. Yeah, okay.
The hag bought the loan at one point. Yeah, yeah. Because the loan sharks, when they tried to collect, realized that if they broke Juju's hands, they'd never be able to repay him. So, uh, yeah, that's
Okay.
the moneymaker. That's the
Yeah, yeah.
moneymaker. Yeah. So they sold the loan off to the hag because the hag wanted the Korred.
The Korad.
That was the hairy fellow. All the hair was coming
Oh, yeah,
from.
yeah. That the satyr thing.
Yeah, sort of. It's not really a satyr. It is it's more akin to like somewhere between a fey and an earth elemental.
Hmm.
It is technically a fey, has strong ties to the element of earth. Uh, but it's Korad's hair. Whenever it is cut, the cut hair becomes the same type of material would ever cut it. But this was a special Korad that whenever its hair is cut by a living creature, by its own like living implements, it becomes another living creature. That's where all the Svarts came from. And that's where the Juge clones came from, and then
Ah,
Grigor realized this and made some Grigor clones. So Josh, I tip my hat to you. I don't know why. I didn't think any of my players would want to make clones of themselves, but you did.
yeah. That
So
seems like that seems like fall. A short sight on your end there.
it really does, but I mean they're not the player clones don't have any of your abilities. They're supposed to basically just be commoner clones of
Yeah,
you,
makes sense.
which is fine. But since Josh took the knight background, so he has the retainers. Um,
Yeah.
that was something thematic for him. I'm like, you know what? All right, that's
There you
fine.
go.
Didn't think that would appeal to anybody. Shows what I know. This again, I've never ceased to be surprised by my players.
Let's. Yeah, it looked like everybody was having a good time.
I
Anna
agree,
killed her
hundred
clone. Yeah,
percent.
Anna did kill her clone, and I killed one of Josh's clones because, yeah,
Because we have conventions about cloning. Frankly, it's there's rules, right?
yeah.
But no, I had a great time doing it, and it looked like all y'all were having a blast, and that's the most you can hope for, really, in any game. So
Oh yeah, it's honestly that's pretty much the best case scenario.
there may have been like weird stuff that didn't get interacted with, but all the important boxes for me were checked. Everybody had fun. We had a good time. It was entertaining to watch, and, which is what a stream is supposed to be.
True. Yeah.
And it was great. We had a good time.
Yeah, we did.
I really love doing it.
Now, were there any moments that you would have, if you had an opportunity to go back and do Monday morning quarterback on your own performance, that you'd be like, all right, I would rather have changed this or that, or not give Henry the Snail a likable personality, or whatever it is you wanted to do, or just like, no, this was actually a great session.
Uh, Honestly, no. I liked the session. I think I may have tried to shorten some of the stuff that we did at the beginning that honestly didn't have a lot of effect going forward.
Yeah,
Maybe
I can see that.
consolidate some of the tavern and inn stuff and bulletin board, message board stuff into less time. Um, it was fine. Y'all did great with it, but it didn't all need to be there, I guess. But I'm really happy with how all the encounters turned out.
Oh yeah.
I I like how y'all interacted with the world. I enjoyed reacting to that in a lot of instances. And no, I wouldn't change much at all, really. I definitely would not change the Henry the Snail stuff.
Okay.
That was too beloved to take away.
Well, I'm glad you didn't walk into my trap there. That's thumbs up there. Now, are there anything that you learned that you're like, or you're like, okay, people that I'm playing with like this kind of thing, or I seem to be able to do this really well. I wasn't expecting that. That you're going to be bringing forward into other games that you run, whether they're on camera or off.
Um, I did like the idea of having those objects in the world that can be interacted with to good effect, besides just being decoration.
Okay.
Like, even though it wasn't stuff that got used, I liked seeing that in the adventure that I would potentially throw into other encounters in the future. Like the dental drills, the chair, stuff like that. It we never got around to it ourselves in the game. I thought that was really cool. That's neat stuff to put into play. Um, Let me think. From y'all, it's once again that lesson in expect the unexpected, or stop trying to expect the unexpected and just be on your toes.
Yeah,
I
just
guess
go with it.
because
Go with the flow.
they will always surprise you. And the more you DM, the more you play, the better your improvisational skills will get at that, and being able to react to that. Just because you didn't think of it doesn't mean you've got to shoot it down. Let it happen.
Yeah, you should know how
It's
the
not
world
necessarily gonna be a bad thing.
works, but not necessarily how they solve the problem that you've laid in front of them.
Yeah. But yeah, embrace the weird solutions. Like I had no idea Quentin's going to start, or Josh, as Grigor was going to start, bribing alley cats into spying for him and stuff like that. I'm like, wow, okay, no, this is great. I think I can work with this. This is. They don't know a whole lot, but I think they know some things. Yeah, this is. Why not? Sure.
Yeah.
They really don't care about people unless those people are giving them food because they're cats. Even cats that live in people's homes don't really care about you until you start giving them
Well, that's
food.
enough for tonight. Have a
Yeah.
good time. Yeah, so that's yeah, I fully agree on that point. You got to be able to embrace some of the wacky ideas that the players are doing. What is the improvisational, bystander of like yes and, or it's like, hey,
Yeah,
somebody presents an option to you and you go, yeah, I will take that and add a little bit more and hand it off to the next person because it's
I
collaborative
would
storytelling.
like I hear some advice is like never say no to your players. I don't think that's I don't think that's the best advice. I think yes and is great, but I also think no but is a good response a lot of
Yeah,
the times too.
that's very much what I try to do is no
Yeah.
buts. Like, hey, can I do
No,
this
but let me
thing?
meet you halfway somewhere on this. Let's give you an alternative to this truly ridiculous idea you have and make it just semi ridiculous instead. Sometimes truly ridiculous is great, but sometimes you want to rein that in just for
Yeah,
continuity's sake, or just for what you've already built in your campaign, for what you've already built in the world your players are in. No, but is just as good as yes and
yeah, it
in
rewards the
my mind.
creativity, but it gives
It
them,
does.
it's like, all right, you're not going to be able to run up the castle wall like Naruto, But as you slam into the
Unless,
wall,
unless you're a monk at like 7th or 8th
oh yeah,
level, then just straight up.
yeah, at which point it's like, oh, well, if you're not that monk that can run straight up, you slam into the wall and you see a grate. Once you stop seeing double vision, and hey, you can probably get through that and get into the castle.
Right. It's in 5e rules is written natural 20s on skill checks are not automatic successes. They're only automatic successes on an attack. It's yes, natural 20 is great. What's the result? Like, I still want to know what it is because DCs can be higher than a 20. I actually like. I'm a big Critical Role fan. I watch them every week. Matt Mercer, I've noticed over the last several months. Well, I guess since they came back from their break because
Yeah,
they
about a
they,
month
they
ago.
went on break. They weren't playing live for a bit because of the whole social distancing, quarantining thing. But whenever his players get a natural 20 in the skill check, everybody else just like, yay, ooh, ah, and he's like, okay, but what is the result? He still makes a point, like, you still need to tell me the result, because
Yeah,
a 20 is not necessarily good enough.
yeah, you could have
Or,
a check that's
a
25.
25 would give you something, but a 30 would give you more, and they're at level 12, so those kind of DCs are realistic still for some of the stuff they get into.
Gotcha. Well, in the chat here, we have Arcline noticing that in the oubliette map, or in the map that I linked, one of the oubliettes has a cat in it.
One of the oubliettes did have a tabaxi in it, yes.
Oh,
There
it's a
was a
tabaxi.
Tabaxi, I think Swashbuckler. No, that Swashbuckler wasn't out yet. I think it was some kind of rogue. There
Oh
was a
yeah.
Tabaxi rogue and one of the little oubliettes, and the oubliette next to that Abjurist you were looking for.
Right. Yeah, we didn't find the Abjurist, did we?
No, you did. You
Okay.
did.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, she was down there. Y'all found Juge first, and then we kind of hand waved the rest. Unfortunately, I hope y'all didn't mind me doing that. I just kind of wanted to get some closure on the the two shot with that, I guess.
No, that's fair. It was dragging it out any longer. It was rapidly approaching my bedtime. So
Yeah, we were already past 10 o'clock. I was like, well, there went my whole projection of like 2 hours each right out the window.
yeah.
We're over 6 now total.
I mean, it went well though. It was a very fun game. Did we find the lady's husband? Oh yeah, the missing gnome.
You would have if we had all the time we needed. There was another room where uh, a bunch of Svarts and a Svart warlock were gonna sacrifice him. Y'all could have saved him. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing that picture there. Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
that is
That's
terrifying.
actually the whole gnome thing. I just made that up as another hook for y'all. Um, but it kind of suggested something like that in the adventure mod. It really
Okay.
didn't say like explicitly how to give your players the hook. It just kind of told you what's going on and come up with whatever you want. So I gave you a wanted poster or a missing poster, and I gave you a little old gnome lady that is missing her husband, and like this is gonna get odds are this is going to get somebody in the party enough that it's going to convince the rest of them to go for it. And they know this is a two shot. Here's the adventure. Go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I did feel like we kind of did beat around the bush a little bit. It's like, all right, well, we all know we need to get to the barber's house because it's called the Barber of Silvery Moon, but
Bite the
everyone's
hook,
trying
please.
not
Yeah.
trying not to metagame it, but also it's like, we need to.
For not wanting to metagame is great in long running campaigns. Whenever we do stuff like these one shots or two shots that are just real quick and dirty for entertainment value to fill in some time, metagame.
Yeah, just we have a timeline. Let's get it done. I understand. I can totally feel that. But if anybody's watching from my learn to play, don't metagame. Stop that.
Yeah, I mean and that's stuff I shared with y'all in the chat too. Is like I was trying to be very upfront. Like this is gonna be weird and whimsical. Don't overthink it. I was trying to be breaking the fourth wall a little bit, but not giving y'all too many details just yet because I still wanted it to be fun for y'all. I didn't want to tell you what the story is. Like this is what you should do, so we can make a good show. But trying to give you enough kind of like warning ahead of time to have the right mindset for it, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. It was an odd adventure. if
Oh,
that,
gosh.
if I had been prepping for a standard kind of dungeon crawl, old school sword and sorcery thing, and this was dropped in, I'd just be like, what the hell? What was
Yeah,
that?
no, this is the opposite of old school sword and sorcery dungeon crawl. That's for
Yeah.
sure. This was off the wall. I mean, you knew the name of the adventure ahead of time a little bit, so it kind of prepared you for some antics, I suppose. Just knowing that's what it's called. Like, really?
That's the way I think.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
okay, yeah, okay. And I was like, all right. In in the half hour before we started the first stream, I asked all of you. You don't have to tell me now, but I want you to think about this ahead of time, so it is going to come into play. What does your player character's hair look like,
Right.
and what is your general dental hygiene like? Like don't tell me right now, because this is going to come out. But I'm just letting you know ahead of time, so you're not just like because these are all new characters for y'all too.
Yeah. Oh, that was true.
Everybody's playing a new PC. None of them are the same class you regularly play at least every week. You may have other games you're in that I'm not aware of, but for
No.
everybody.
I
But
wish I did.
some of that, in a minimal sense, contributed to some of the drag. Is just everybody's playing a new character for the first time. What, but at a higher level, at level 5, what does this do?
Yeah.
But I don't think that was a significant source of any slowdowns at all. It's just it is what it is. Everybody's playing a level 5 character for the first time. Level 5 characters have a fair few abilities, and if you're a spellcaster, even more to keep track
Yeah.
of.
But I think it was all handled pretty well. There was no real
No,
hard points where it was dragging.
I was pretty impressed overall with how you handled your brand new characters. Yeah.
So, are you going to be looking to run more Barber of Silvery Moon kind, or the Dragon Plus kind of stuff in the future? Are you keeping an eye out for building the stable of, ooh, I can grab that, I can grab this?
I've got folders in my Google Drive account full of stuff I've collected over the years.
Okay.
I've got all sorts of random adventures and modules. That was just one that had stuck with me over the years that I never forgot about. There's stuff that I pull down and download or buy and pick up, and I'm like, oh, that's neat, that's cool, that's neat. This one I, read front to back when I first got it, and really just became enamored with it. I've got a few other things in my folders that would be fun to run. I need to delve back in again and see what I can find, but I got a slew of things that are possible. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can understand the this sticking with you because this was weird. It was cool, but it was definitely it was an odd.
Memorable.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is something that I want to play. I have a couple of Dungeon Crawl Classic things that are like that, where it's like, oh, I really want to run this sometime, but we're not going to be able to do that without getting you guys up to like level 5, and that's damn near impossible. Yeah, Dungeon Crawl Classic has the opposite problem for what we were talking about with, oh, there's a whole bunch of low level stuff, but there's no stuff for the higher levels. Like, yeah, there's a lot of higher level stuff, but no one ever actually survives to get there. So,
Irony. Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a great time with it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Looking forward to doing more one shots. Honestly, that was awesome. I had a great time doing it, and all of y'all that immediately volunteered or wanted to get involved with it, loved having you.
Yeah, I'm always looking for more opportunities to be on the not DM side of the screen.
On the player side,
Yeah.
yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time on this side trying to run things. Like, no, I just want to sit back and enjoy myself and have a good time watching things go. And you were a fantastic DM. I had a lot of fun playing at your table.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. This, since we've all kind of been sequestered for so many months now, this is honestly the most D&D I've gotten to play in my D&D history. Because let's see, now I was already doing the Velkin Weave before, right? So I had that. At the same time, already I was running a Ghost of Saltmarsh campaign, so I was DMing that. I was running a campaign at school because I sponsored the D&D club at the high school.
Makes sense.
So at that point, I was DMing 2 games and playing in 1. And then everybody was told to go home and stay there and don't talk to anybody or go outside. And virtual, most of those things went to virtual. Unfortunately, my high school game did not go to virtual. We didn't really have the tools to do that with the students at the time.
It's fair.
But then I got involved in a bunch of other virtual games. Stratter Day started happening with folks in the server, so I got to play in that. One of my weekly board game things that we were doing online turned into D&D, so I started DMing that.
Oh
So
wow.
back to DMing two games again. Then our OSR campaign using the Goodman Games modules started up. And then one of my coworkers decided he wanted to run a game for some of us at school, and in Eberron. I love the Eberron setting.
All right.
So I'm playing in more D&D games that I'm DMing for the first time in my life, and I'm involved in more D&D games than I've been involved in the previous 3 years.
That's good. That's I'm glad to hear that.
It's a good problem to have. Is like which D&D night is this?
Yeah, and since you're already spending all the time at home, with the missus anyway, it's like, all right, well, you
Yeah.
you don't need to carve out date nights and all that. It's like, oh, hey, what are we doing tonight? Pizza and D&D. Yeah.
Our date nights have become like watching Critical Role together and some of the other D&D streams, and and yeah, that's yeah. We like to go out again though. Not gonna lie.
I feel that. I feel that. So you mentioned that you at the time didn't have the means to bring the school game into a digital setting. With everything going towards the digital and virtual learning, is that something you're going to try and kick back up for the fall?
Yes, it is. I think it's going to be possible with the tools we're using to actually have all of my D&D club kids together, which I had like more than 30 at the time.
Oh damn!
Which is wild. I love it. We great big bunch of nerds. Love you kids. And but I think we actually do have the tools where I could actually have them all together virtually, have them in their separate groups, but still kind of be able to supervise like I'm supposed to
Okay, that makes sense.
at the same time, without it just being a cluster. I think it will be possible. It's going to take planning, and I need my student DMs to step up and want to make it possible. But yeah, I think so.
Well, it's cool. I'm very glad to hear that.
I'm very hopeful that we're going to keep it going. And we got a new freshman class coming. They're doing a lot of orientation stuff with virtually with everybody, and need my kids to get involved with that too, to invite them in.
Yeah, I'm very curious how that whole scene is working, because when I was getting into D&D right as in my I think freshman year of high school, I did a little bit in middle school, but freshman year of high school was the first time I tried to join the D&D club. It was very much not what you're describing. I think there was 5 to 8 people in one
Right.
of like the trailers just in the back room. Like, yeah, no, you guys go trailer on the other side of the football field. Yeah, sure, we'll turn the lights on for you. And it was it was something that people wanted to a couple people wanted to do, and the school was like obligated to let us borrow room space or something. So to hear it actually blow up like that's really cool.
It's great. This is the age of the nerd, the age of the geek right now. Every popular culture has shifted. These types of hobbies and subjects are no longer shunned and taboo for the vast majority of people. They're embraced, and this is the cool shit to do now.
Yeah, I'm glad we've moved past the whole satanic panic that's going to turn you into a whatever bad thing that your parents think it's going to turn you into. It's like, no, this is just it's a fun game.
There's still a handful of folks that you got to educate on that matter, but
Yeah.
beyond that, it's pretty great.
Yeah, the I've always liked to call, someone's like, oh, it's only for nerds who don't go outside, and you'll never get a girlfriend or whatever. It's like, yeah, but Vin Diesel plays D&D, so
Vin Diesel and Joe Manganiello, both two literal action stars, big buff Hollywood guys, are two of the most like public faces of Dungeons and Dragons in Hollywood. Like those two guys. It's those two guys. Those are the two big public faces of D&D in Hollywood.
yeah, they're the ones I have to occasionally explain. It's like, no, this is cool. This is a thing. Check it out. That Moses Magoo over there is doing something. So
I remember it like D&D Live, one of their summer things, 2 or 3 years ago. Um, they had a D&D game. It was Joe Manganiello, Travis Willingham from Critical Role, The Big Show from WWE.
Yeah.
There was another guy who's like I think a CrossFit like champion in the country. It
Okay.
was like the requirement was that you basically had to be able to bench 300 pounds before you could be in the game or something like that. like, and
Okay.
and they were it was like an all tank game. And those are the four guys playing. These four folk that could bench everyone else that was on crew, basically taping them.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds. I might have to try and chase that down. That sounds like a good time.
It was amazing. This was before campaign two of Critical Role started, so this was a while back, a year,
Okay.
2 or 3 years ago. But yeah, it
Now,
was amazing. It was great.
now, are you finding that the administration from the school is supportive for trying to keep the campaign back up, or is it just a hey, you're doing a club, congratulations, it's all on you? Just
It,
curious.
it's kind of on me,
Okay.
but they have been supportive. And our activities director and the people in the activities office were very helpful getting me plugged in when I started last year, and asking if I need anything, and were very easy to talk to when I had any questions about fundraising or donations, because I had people from the D&D community donate supplies to us
Oh, very
right
cool.
after we got started. I had some folks reach out and have. At my last school back in Texas, Sly Flourish donated like $250 to me to our club for buying stuff after he finished up his Kickstarter for Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master. Just because it did so well, he started donating money out to D&D clubs.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I bought the club a crap ton of source books, players' handbooks, a couple DMs guides, a couple monster manuals, some wet erase maps and stuff to use, and that was great. And I left it all for them when I moved, and had
Good,
one of
good
my
call.
fellow science teachers take over the club for me.
Well, excellent. Was the one in Texas roughly the same size as the one you got up here, or was it?
It wasn't quite as big, but it was a smaller school
Okay.
also at the same time. I would say it was maybe slightly a little bit less than proportional, but still had quite a few kids that were involved with it.
Well, that's awesome.
We regularly had 3 or 4 groups running simultaneously back in Texas. Here we have usually 4 or 5 groups running at my current school, or we did, I should say.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear all that. That's this was completely not where I was expecting the conversation to go, but hey, I'm glad we're here.
That's it's one of those places where my passions lie is getting the next generation involved in D&D, because I very much regret not having discovered it sooner, essentially.
I can see
Like
that. Yeah.
I played some other RPGs before I ever played D&D 5e, and I had fun and enjoyed it because I was with my friends, but none of them grabbed me like 5e did and just pulled me in full force, wanted to DM and everything.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it's a
that's
great system for that.
It really is. And honestly, I've played a couple sessions, then I got kind of directed to some of the Matt Colville videos. He did his whole running the
Yeah,
game
I
series.
think that's still actually running. He's on
Oh
like
yeah,
episode
he
100.
still makes them, not quite as often, just because he's
Busy.
started his own company now,
Yeah.
and they're more and more employees every year. They have like actually in-house artists now for all the design stuff they do. I think are their most recent employee additions. But Matt Colville's running the game series. I think I watched all of the episodes back to back, near as many as I could, and that really launched me into the DM chair. And I still show one of his videos to like the D&D club at the beginning of every year, and it's the Why We Play video, where it's he just kind of where he kind of describes how a particular session went and has input from each of his players, like little recorded in story bits from all of it. And it was just this like what a twist moment at the end, and he just talks about like this can only happen in D&D. This is the only type of game that this ridiculous scenario could have played out in. It's awesome. You got to try it.
I don't think I've seen that one, but I need to. I definitely need to check that out. And I fully agree with you on the whole. We need to be keeping people coming in because, as with any group or hobby or business or club, if you don't have more, if you don't constantly have people joining in, the organization is dying. If on the hobby we don't have new people joining in and playing, jumping into Dungeons and Dragons, we're not going to have new players in 20. We're not going to have players in 20 years to play the game with us. Uh, as much as I know, I sometimes complain about how things are different than they were X amount of years ago. Yeah, we absolutely need. The changes that they made are fantastic because it's keeping the game alive, keeping the hobby alive. So, yeah, that's Groot on you for getting there. For leading the charge there to get the youth of tomorrow in.
I tried. I sent you a link in the green room to that video. Found it real quick. I think it's worth a watch, even if you've been playing for 10 years already. This is a great video to share with people that are interested and have never played,
Sure.
or are hesitant. That's slightly interested, but they're not really sure. This can really push them over the edge.
Well, excellent. I'll give it a look when I'm not plugged into this. So, everybody out in the chat, are there any questions that you guys have for Corey, or whether it's about the Barber of Silvery Moon, it's about getting the club up and running at school, it's about just getting new players in, or just whatever it is he's got going on? Because Corey's an interesting dude.
I have my moments.
Yeah, occasionally they happen. I'm not seeing any. Oh, here we go. What's your favorite NPC to voice? Because you do some interesting voices.
I try. That comes from watching a lot of Comedy Central growing up and Cartoon Network.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's favorite NPC to voice.
Go with Flail
Current.
Snail.
Say again.
Go with Flail Snail.
The flail snail. Yeah, Henry was easy. That wasn't that. Honestly, that wasn't that hard. Honestly, the getting to do like elderly folk voices, old, like get that really stereotypical kind of crackle and draw to your, I love doing that.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I know that's something until I start hooking up with these projects that I wouldn't have thought, but everybody has sort of like their own variation of all that, and that
Right.
like I'm gonna pick on Reed here for a second. All of his old man wizards sound exactly the same, so it's like is this the same old wizard? No, it's just a different old. Okay, cool, gotcha. That's just how he does old people.
So
all my dwarfs sound like Edgar. Like, there we go.
one of my favorite NPCs that I'm currently in a world with is in my Saltmarsh campaign is a priest of Procan, who is like the god of the sea in Greyhawk. So he's like an old retired sailor, and because Procan's the god of the sea, it's chaotic, favor shift. I made this priest basically about as ADD as possible,
Okay.
and so it's not really just the voice, and he's got kind of an older voice, not this as extreme as I was demonstrating earlier, but it's how they talk, really. It doesn't have to be a new and different voice every time, but changing their speech patterns, that's really what sets them apart from one another. Like, because this guy's so ADD and shifts topics and shifts his attention at a whim. He has these moments of very serious clarity, and then quickly, like, oh, something shiny. Oh, the seas of Procan and all that, and it's
Sea squirrel.
yeah, it's basically yeah.
Well, excellent. Yeah, that's all right. So we got a question in the chat from looks like from Reed. How do you keep your voices from going hoarse with all the voices? That holds like a question.
That's fair.
I drink a lot of water. I'm killing
Yeah.
4 or 5 of these a session.
Stay well lubricated, I guess, and it, well, and thankfully that I usually don't do those extreme voices for the most common NPCs, I guess, that they're going to talk to all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't have any I really don't have any NPCs that my players are constantly speaking with all the time. They're the stars of the show. The NPCs are there when they need them or when I need a plot device. They're not going to be a major part of any of my sessions that are just going to be constantly there.
Yeah, that's I try to have as few. The NPCs are all very straight and to the point. Even the ones who are not straight and to the point, that are supposed to be kind of sly, like ooh, you have to apply this out of me, are still in normal conversation. Would be it's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, it took you 2 sentences to get to this thing as opposed to one. There we go. Just makes it go.
I, I still take my moments to shine, but a lot of it is also setting the mood and describing the scene and stuff like that, which you don't have to do in a voice, but I and some of it is also practice. Like I've been doing funny voices my entire life for whatever reason, just because I think I'm hilarious. So I do that all the time. You can ask my wife. I'm not, but I think I am. And so I've been doing stuff like this since I was very young and just gotten used to it.
Sounds good. I think. All right, now everyone's just gambling. So, well, is there anything you want to? We still have a couple minutes here. We can also kill now. But is there anything you want to just sort of plug, or something? It's like, hey, I've been looking for a talk show to say this thing aloud on. D&D related, preferably.
Uh, I think I've made a lot of my major points already.
Yeah, I
I've
think
been
so.
able to weasel them in there every now and then.
Any of the big releases coming up that so we've mentioned that you're in on, or you haven't pre-ordered yet the Icewind Dale, but you're probably going to pick that up.
I did pre-order the D&D Beyond digital version of it
Okay.
because they were doing a sale last
I
weekend.
saw
So
that.
I,
Yeah.
I, I went full into D&D Beyond a couple years ago and did the legendary bundle at the time. So
Oh,
I have
nice.
a constant. Once you do that, you get a 15% discount on everything that hasn't been released yet.
Oh, wow.
So it is something to consider. Obviously, the legendary bundle gets more and more expensive every new release, but there is that constant discount that comes out. So when they had that sale the other weekend, like 20% off additional, I went ahead and picked that up.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm still really hesitant to be diving into digital books myself.
That's
I pick them
fair.
up as I need them, but I chase after the
I honestly,
hardbacks.
and I end up getting both. Is what happens. Is I get the physical book more often than not. Not always. There's a few books that I'll just get it on D&D Beyond because I'm not super committed to the story or what's they're coming out with. Like Avernus, Avernus didn't really grab me. I wasn't really that interested in going to hell.
Is it the Baldur's
So
Gate one?
say again.
That's Baldur's Gate, right?
Yeah, Baldur's Gate Descent into
Okay.
Avernus. So that one really didn't grab me. Like I don't think I actually even have it on D&D Beyond.
Oh, wow.
But it's I don't know. I give it 50-50. I might, and I don't even know. Uh, but that was a book that didn't really grab me, so I just kind of let that one run past. We'll see. I'm curious about Icewind Dale. I'm not 100% sold on the idea of it. The more teasers that Perkins does, honestly, there's like, well, that's pretty neat. I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't been paying attention to them as nearly as much as I should, which is weird because I run a news show. Uh,
But like, I'm still in the depths of running my Saltmarsh campaign. Like, my players are at level 6. I still have a lot of stuff to do with them for a long time potentially. And I love that book. It's a great book. It is not a like 1 to 12 campaign book. It's actually not. But it
right.
does give you a lot of tools for creating adventures and scenarios and extra stuff to fill in the gaps,
Okay, that's really
which
cool.
is nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
no, it
sounds
gives
good.
you a lot of like templates and like you could do this sort of thing, and it gives you some variations on it like levels 3, 5, 7, and 9 or something like that. And for like here's a map and here's a couple different things you can do with this depending on what level you're at. I was like, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, that actually sounds really cool.
So I've utilized a couple of those at this point. I've made up some stuff because I had a player that wanted to utilize the Xanathar's rules for crafting magic items.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, you know what? Let me dig into that. And I'm like, yeah, we can do this. And I've got some third party stuff that I think I'd like to incorporate into it in the coming up soon. That's sort of island sea related that could be fun to do.
Okay.
So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, sounds like a good time.
I feel like there's still a lot to do with this, and I'm not tired of it yet.
That's kind of the key one. I find when the dungeon master gets bored, it's just like, all right, well, I don't know, fight bigger goblins.
We're gonna wrap this shit up now. All right, let's.
On to Ravenloft.
I do have a third party thing that I'd like to run with students in the future, and that was the Humblewood. The
Right.
Yeah, so I got in on that Kickstarter. I got the box set. The Humblewood from the Deck of Many is the company that produced that. As is a setting full of
Like bird people,
basically
yeah.
woodland creatures. It is bird folk and some other woodland creatures, the humble folk like deer and hedgehogs and foxes and stuff also. But I got the box set for that, and I'd really like to run that with a student group in the future. It's comes with a bunch. I got a bunch of minis with it. Obviously, the minis aren't going to be very helpful in a virtual setting in the future, but
Yeah,
they're still
unfortunately
really
not.
cool. And the setting documents and a low level adventure are really good. And I really like kind of the oeuvre of the Humblewood. It's still very pure.
That's
In
worthwhile.
a sense, it's good versus evil, order versus destruction and chaos, and then it's sometimes it's still there's still important like lessons to teach there, and I'm a teacher, I want to teach.
Oh, there you go. Well, cool. Are you grabbing the what is it, the Strahd revamped? Because I think that's the only other next official thing.
I don't know. I'm still on the fence about that.
Okay. Oh, the cookbook. Are you picking up the?
Probably will pick up the
Yeah,
cookbook when
that's.
it comes out.
I need to
I don't
grab
think I'm
that.
gonna. I don't think I'm gonna pre-order. I'll probably pick it up whenever it just comes out. But like I've got the Elder Scrolls cookbook back there, and we've cooked some stuff out of it in recent past. So yeah, the D&D cookbook sounds appealing.
Yeah, I wish I had picked that up at the beginning of the whole lockdown thing. It's like, oh hey, what's my lockdown hobby skill I picked up?
Right.
It's baking weird things. Hey.
Yeah, some good stuff there. And some
Yeah.
tasty stuff.
So any last calls from the chat? It doesn't look like. So I think now is probably as good a time as any to sign off and let them all get back to their wonderful evenings. It's a beautiful night outside here, so we will we'll sign off and thank you so much for joining in, everybody. Thank you so much, Corey, for sitting here and just unloading your mind on Silvery
Yeah,
Moon and running a game club and just random things.
I'm spent. That's where we're at.
All right. Well, have a good night. Again, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Tomorrow night, the Velkin Weave is back. That's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And then on Thursday, we have Whiskey, Magic, and Destruction, also at 7 p.m. This Saturday, we're hoping to be able to get the heist going again. We had some technical difficulties last time, so I'm hoping everybody's got that solved. And tune into our Instagram and our Twitter and our Facebook. All of those are going to be where we're pushing that information out. We also do have our Discord where information about streams is also discussed, and you can jump in, propose extra topics, whatever it is you want to see covered on Happy Hour. And otherwise, big shout out to Tabletop Audio. They're the guys who provide the music that we had playing over the break and the end and intro credits. And they're a great resource if you're running games, you want to add a little bit more, just get rid of the dead air. Just some background noise goes a long way. And they also have a whole bunch of music. They have ambience, noises, and they also have
Yeah.
sound effects. So check them out, and we will see you guys tomorrow night for the Vulcan Weave. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, folks.